All right, ladies and gentlemen, today I have a special guest on Wrestling for the Culture. I say that he is the dream teacher. Everybody wish they could have Mr. Perry. Coming up on Wrestling for the Culture.
The Wrestling Realm presents Wrestling for the Culture, where we highlight pro wrestlers and pro wrestling personalities of color. Here's your host, Brian H. Waters.
Mr. Perry, what's going on, man? How you feeling?
I'm doing all right. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming on. I know you have a very busy schedule. I know, man, you're a teacher right there alone. So that's a huge responsibility. So before we can get started, I just want to thank you for your sacrifice. I know how much effort it takes, between not only teaching, but lesson planning. And it's a thankless position because nobody, 10 people may say, thank you when out of 100 students, but let you do something wrong to 100 students, all 100 of them will say something. So just want to thank you for that.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, so you went viral a few weeks ago. And I was on Twitter and I saw the quote tweet from Sasha Banks where she said, "Oh, I want to go visit this class." And I was like, "Wait a minute. Is this a wrestling class?" Oh my goodness. So a wrestling club, which I think is amazing. It wouldn't have been strange to hear about this during the Attitude Era because everybody was into wrestling, right? So it wouldn't have been strange. You had different clubs. You had chess clubs. At one point, you had a Pog club in certain schools. Whatever was Yu-Gi-Oh club, Pokemon club. But in 2022, a wrestling club. How amazing. How did that come about?
It was random. It was not planned. It was something that just happened organically. I had been teaching. It was like October 2021. And was on my phone. Like the kids were working independently, and I just checked my phone, and I saw where it said Bianca Belair is coming to New York City for like a meet and greet, and I gasped, and I was like, "Oh, like I'm going to that," And one of the kids, he overheard me, and he was like, "I know who that is. Like I like Bianca Belair. Like I like wrestling." And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah, I watch it all the time." And so then I was like, "Okay, cool. I'm taking you to meet Bianca Belair on next Monday, that Monday in November." And so I took the kid. It was the day after Survivor Series. I went by myself to Survivor Series. It was my first time going to an event.
You was there? I was there too.
Yeah. I went to the Survivor Series. It was lit.
Yes.
So much fun. And the next day, I went and met Bianca with the kid, and we won tickets to Raw.
Nice.
So we went to Raw that night as well and had a blast. And the kid the next day went to school and was just bragging, like telling all his friends. I hung out with Mr. Perry. We went and got Chipotle. We met Bianca Belair. We went to Raw. Like we saw all this crazy stuff. That was the Raw that we saw the Seth Rollins incident.
Yep.
So like
I was sitting next to Krista B of Those Wrestling Girls, and we was sitting there when it happened, and they brought the guy past us.
That was insane. And so like he was.
Where were you sitting?
Same spot I was sitting in Survivor Series. So it was the 100s, right before you get to the floor. So it's like that upper, like that one level up right before you get to the floor.
You was on the hard cam side or facing the hard cam?
Facing the hard cam.
Oh, so you was on the exact, like directly across from where we were sitting.
Yeah, and it was crazy. Absolutely crazy. And so like after that, I was like, if all the kids were like, "Oh my God, I wish I could have gone." So I was like, okay, if I start a wrestling club, like, would you guys join? And they all said, yeah. But then like 5 kids showed up, So it was small starting out. But then once kids started, recognizing what it was and, wanting to sacrifice their recess and lunch to come upstairs and hang with me, it grew and it grew. And it is what it is today.
So do y'all meet every day? Y'all meet once a week? How does it work?
At one point, we were meeting once a day. But then state testing we had state testing, so that kind of stopped it. And then they changed our schedule recently, recess and lunch, so shorter. So we haven't been meeting every day. We last met this week on Tuesday. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So do the same students come all the time, or is just like they rotate in and out?
No, it's the same students mostly. And it's just sixth grade.
And how did y'all decide which matches?
I don't.
Okay.
I just go with the flow, what I'm feeling. And then I also receive requests from people on Twitter, and I will watch it first, and then if I think it's appropriate, then I'll show the kids. Right now, I usually, since it's we usually show like Raw, like clips from Raw, since it's always after Monday.
Yeah.
And then maybe that previous Friday, and then we'll try to find like a marquee match, like on pay-per-view, that we can show. So yeah, there is not a set curriculum yet, but next year there will be one.
Now,
Like,
how did you?
the whole storyline series, like from start to finish?
Oh wow, that's gonna be awesome. Now, how did the Sasha and Bailey match come about? When did you decide to show that? Was that a request, or was it just something that you was a fan of? He's like, y'all have to watch this. And also, was that their first time seeing? Because sixth grade, they're probably really young around the time the match happened, if I'm not correct.
I don't remember. I just remember they were like, we want to watch some Sasha Banks matches. They had seen Sasha and Bianca. And then I had pulled up the turn. Oh, I know what it was now. I know how we got to that. We were watching Bianca versus Becky, Extreme Rules, and Sasha returned. And then they were like, dang, why is Sasha so vicious? And then I was like, oh, y'all want to see like vicious Sasha? Like, I'll show you this vicious Sasha. So I showed them when Sasha returned and attacked Natty, and then attacked Becky. And then I was like, but I said, Sasha's not always been the vicious one. And they're like, what? I was like, yeah. I said, her best friend turned on her, like her real life best friend. And I said, let's watch it. So then we started watching clips from those SmackDowns that led up to the Hell in a Cell. So the kids were already like, they saw when Bailey turned on her after that tag match that they lost. And then when Bailey tried to break her neck with the chair. So like they had seen all those clips in the storylines that led to it. So when we watched the Hell in a Cell match, that's why they were just like exhausted by the end of it, because they were just like, they felt triumphant with her, but exhausted because it was just so much brutality for two friends. And they couldn't quite understand it. They were just like, why are they friends if they're beating each other? Like, so it was like having to get them to separate reality versus the storyline, and then understanding why the storyline progressed the way that it did. But they really enjoyed that match.
Oh man. So when did you realize that Sasha had quote tweeted you?
So when I tweeted the video, I was teaching. I had to go to teach right after, so like I didn't look at my phone. But I could see like it kept lighting up, so I was just like, oh, it went viral or whatever. And then so I came home, relaxed. I was playing on my PS4, WWE 2K22 actually, and my phone linked. So I looked at it, and it said Mercedes Varnado quoted your tweet or whatever, and I was like, oh, it's just a troll account. I didn't think nothing of it, so I kept playing the game. But then my phone just started. It started doing something different that it did beforehand. Like it was just lighting up like consistently. So I was like, let me just see what's going on. Like, what is this? And then I saw where it was Sasha, and she had retweeted and quoted it. And I was just like, yo, that's crazy. Like she saw it. Like, and then when I saw what she said, I was like, oh my gosh, like she really wants to come to the school. But I thought it was just, like a platitude. I thought it was just like something like, wow, this is cool. I gotta go to this school, like to show like her love and appreciation for the club. But I still showed the kids. I showed them the next day, and they all were like cheering and like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like da 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 da. And then, we went on about our business. We had state tests. We had to prepare for the ELA. I'm an ELA teacher, so like that was my thing that I wanted to really focus on make sure my kids pass. Yeah.
That's amazing. Now, how good did it make you feel when you got to see Sasha Banks come in there and to see how those students touched her? Not only the way she touched the students, but the way they touched her. How good did that make you feel?
You know, I don't think there's been a day where I have not watched the videos and just sat back and relived those moments. It was cool. You know, she wanted to come. That was her idea. That's something she wanted to make happen. And so to see her so happy, and the joy, like in that moment, nothing else mattered. It was weird. It was like it was just such positivity from all ends. They were on a time crunch, but it didn't matter. You know, we all soaked in that moment together, and it was really cool. And I was a nervous wreck that day because this is exclusive. No one knows this. The kids went on a trip, so they were out of the school. The whole school was out of the school. And so I stayed behind with some of the kids who didn't qualify for the trip. They went to Times Square. And so I was freaking out like, oh my God, they're not going to make it back in time. Like they don't the kids don't know what's going to happen. Like they don't know Sasha Banks is coming. Like they got to get back on. So I was a nervous wreck the entire day. And then I also was at a place where I was like stuck between, is this real? Like, is this really happening? Versus like, oh, this is just, it's not going to happen. So when it got down to the wire, and when they texted me and told me they were downstairs, I had to come meet them. I was like, me? You want me to meet you? What? So I had to go downstairs and meet them at their car. And it was just like cool because Sasha got out of the car and the first thing she did was just wave. And then she came and hugged me and we spoke. And then I think that was best for me to get those nerves out downstairs with her alone. Yeah. No cameras, like nothing, was just us. And just getting just to talk to her, like, and just tell her about the program and things like that. So when she came into the room, I could be the professional and capture those moments that the world has seen.
Wow, man, I can imagine the anticipation of just waiting, Yeah. But now let's talk about you. You've been, how long, when did you first fall in love with wrestling?
In third grade. So,
okay.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know what year that was, but third grade.
You remember your first wrestling memory?
Well, yeah, I wouldn't say it's a memory, but I remember watching Paul London and Brian Kendrick on Velocity. But my first memory of when I liked it. So let me say I liked it when I saw that. But my first like real memory where I just like fell in love with it was with Victoria.
Okay.
Yeah, she was my favorite. And then Randy Orton, when I saw him, I was just like, yo, he's dope. I think it was Mick Foley.
Yeah.
It was with him. I think it was Backlash 2004.
Oh.
Yeah, something like that. It was crazy. Like the blood and the thumbtacks. And he was like, he called himself a legend killer. And I thought that was cool. Because I was just like, wait, what? Like I didn't know what that was. So to follow that journey, that made me like really fall in love with it.
Yeah, I mean, man, you brought Victoria. See, I was a huge Trish Stratus fan. She used to give Trish the blues.
Listen,
it used to drive me so crazy.
Trish could not hang with her, man.
Victoria come on.
Beast. Listen, Victoria was a beast. Like Trish did her thing. Trish is phenomenal. Like, like Victoria gave her the business. Like I think they both made each other they made each other better. Like those hardcore matches, those street fights, those brawls. Oh my gosh. I was what? This is crazy.
If we want to keep it 100, I think she had better matches with Victoria than Lita.
I agree.
It's always synonymous with Trish and Lita, but I think, the matches were definitely, her and Victoria took you for a ride.
I agree. I 100% agree. And I wish that was celebrated more. That rivalry was phenomenal. Those two women really stole the show with the amount of time that they were given. They did what they needed to do. Yeah.
Now, I know you also a gamer. How long did you always get into video games, like especially the wrestling games, or was it recent?
No, I've always played video games for wrestling.
Mhm.
So like all the Here Comes the Pain, SmackDown versus Raws, and then I guess when I stopped watching wrestling, I stopped playing for a little bit. But
Okay.
then now I've gotten back into it. But I'm so green. Oh my gosh, I'm so bad.
When did you get out of wrestling? Like, what's your time period? Because everybody has like a small, whether small or big, everybody has a time period where they was out of it and then they came back. What was your time period where you was out of it?
When Victoria retired,
Okay.
and then she went to TNA, and I watched that for a little bit. But about 2012, because then I went to college.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so
Those are the fun years.
huh?
I said those were some of the fun years. That's the beginning of the wrestling realm right there in 2011.
Really? No, I
Mhm.
fell off. Like my brother, he stayed in like the entire time, like the
Gotcha.
entire time. And so he would keep me updated here and there and say like, "Yo, you should see this or see this." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, well, like I'm busy." Like, you know, I was at the time trying to be a music executive, working in the music industry. So like, that was my thing. Like, it wasn't until the pandemic when I fell back in love with it more than I've ever been with it.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, what brought you back? Was the pandemic, or was
I
it?
had nothing to do.
What story hooked you though?
Wasn't a story.
Mhm.
My brother had just kept saying like you should watch it. He kept mentioning Sasha. By the way, I didn't know these names. I only knew Roman Reigns. I knew his name and I knew him because of the Rock Association.
Right.
But other than that, like I didn't know those wrestlers. Like he would say Sasha Banks, Bayley, Charlotte Flair, Asuka, Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, Baron Corbin, Finn Balor. Like he would say these names. And I'm just like, okay, like I don't know those people. But then when I watched one episode of Raw, I saw the names and I was like, oh, my brother mentioned that person. Oh, my brother mentioned that person. Oh, so then it was just like it's like synapses just firing off. Like I was making connections quickly. And then one summer, it was like right before SummerSlam 2020, and then Roman Reigns that came back and won. Or he didn't win the title yet, but I think he beat. Did he win the title? I know
He won it the next week. They that was the first time they had like back-to-back premium live events.
Gotcha. So that's
Even though it wasn't live, so premium events. But yeah, I think it was battle payback, I think, or battle. Yeah, I think it was payback.
I don't remember the name of that one. I don't even know. Yeah, but like it was SummerSlam initially, and
where he came back,
new gimmick or whatever. And so that's when I was like, oh, this is cool. And then Sasha had lost to Asuka, but then there was like this thing with Bayley, and so I was like, okay, I can get into this female storyline. And so then it just took off. Like I just kept watching it and watching it and watching it. And then I started doing my history. I started going back. I went as far as back to 2015 and started following some of my favorites just to see like what storylines they had and catching up with the matches. Like I was blown away to know that they had a pay-per-view called Evolution for all women. I thought that was dope. Women had Royal Rumble. So I was like, what? Like, yo, like the progression, So like catching up and then seeing it and watching it and then seeing it in real time and then going back and watching it and seeing it in real time to now where I'm like caught up completely. It's just cool. Like I'm in it for life now. Like I'm a lifer.
There you go. It happens that way, man, wow, yeah, you missed a lot. You missed Team Bad and so what was your reaction? Because I'm pretty sure you probably watched this match by now. Sasha, Bayley, NXT, Brooklyn Takeover.
Best match I've ever seen for a woman.
So I'm glad you said that. So you like that more than that Hell in a Cell match?
Yeah, because the storyline. The storyline was it was fresh for that time.
See, I'm a fan of the Hell in a Cell match because of like one, it like they did their thing where Bayley was in black and Sasha's in white. Mm-hmm. So it's that good versus evil. Mm-hmm. I mean, just what they did to each other. Sasha, I think Bayley coming out with the X on the chair. And I love the other match. It stole the show. And Balor and Kevin Owens still had a good match in the main event, but that one stole the show. But that Hell in a Cell match, man.
The Hell in a Cell was fire. it missed an audience for me. That's why I think I just
you know what? I'm gonna tell you this. I definitely understand where you're coming from. I learned to appreciate the Thunderdome audience because we had so much empty arena wrestling. So when we got that Thunderdome, I was like, I remember like listening to Corey Graves on his podcast talk about the energy they was getting from the Thunderdome was like almost as good as what they would get from the the regular match from the crowd because they've been empty arena for so long.
What do you mean by that, empty arena?
So during the pandemic, they was just wrestling in a performance center. Like if you go back and look at WrestleMania 36, they're just
quiet.
Yeah, and then AEW started using their backstage, like everybody who was there would be in the arena and be fans, like the boys and the girls from the back would just go out there and be the fans. Then WWE started using, I want to say they might have started trying to use NXT talent, but I don't think they did too much. No, I think they stayed with the empty arena, and then when the NBA did the little screens for the NBA playoffs, that's when WWE started with the Thunderdome.
And so was that real noise on the Thunderdome, or is that like piped in?
I think it's both. They tell you, like, because I did get in the Thunderdome once, and they tell you don't, watch your language and stuff. They also would, if you was caught like this with your phone, they would kick you out. So they want people and stuff like that. They would also, but then people started doing stupid stuff. They would change their photos to like Chris Benoit or Mark Henry.
Yeah, I've seen stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so that's cool. I didn't. Yeah, it's still for me like the fans. Like, I need that piece because that's also the energy. But the LSL match is definitely their second best. I think it's for me. It's the Brooklyn, Hell in a Cell, the Iron Woman.
Okay.
Those three for them.
So is Sasha your new Victoria?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been struggling because Bianca Belair is also a favorite of mine. And so it's like I never could put one over the other.
Hey, I get it.
I met both of them actually, but I think I had that personal connection with Sasha. She was just she was literally like my big sister, even though she's like a couple years, like 2 years older than me. Like she felt like a sister I never had. Like we just instantly hit it off. Like I felt like I could talk to her for days.
I get it.
Seeing that now and then seeing it on TV, I'm just like, okay, I love Sasha more. just a tad bit more, So yeah, Sasha's my Victoria.
Sure. I definitely get it, man. It's nothing like when you had that connection. For me, excuse me, Hulk Hogan and Bret Hart was my favorite for years. And then like I was listening to this podcast. Daniel Bryan was on Chris Jericho's podcast in 2013, and this is during before the Yes movement. It was right after he had not too long lost the belt to Randy Orton after the cash in, and he talked about like why he loved wrestling and whatnot. And I was like, I feel like connected. Like I feel like we would be like good homies, And so I definitely understand where you're coming from. But what can we see next with the wrestling club? I obviously can't like disclose too much information dealing with students, but like what can people expect? And then if there's potential people in the area that want to join, like I'm talking about like sometimes students watch the wrestling run. We keep it very family friendly here, but like what can they expect?
A lot of stuff. Today we practiced promos.
That's awesome.
They're cute. The kids did some promos. I'm giving them characters and letting them create their own character and write their own script. We're gonna just let that, live in the room. I might post one or two, but it's just cool to let them see it. That's what the wrestlers do. Hopefully, a lot more trips to different things in wrestling. I've had a few people reach out that want to do local stuff, so I'm trying to figure out how to make that work. Also talking to some coaches to see if we can like train the kids like safely and let them be in the ring to see what it looks like and feel like. And then more visitors. Hopefully we can get more visitors to come by.
Let me ask you this. Are they at the age now? So they're at the age they know it's predetermined?
I've explained all that to them.
Okay. Yeah. So was some of them like heartbroken?
No, they initially was like, it's fake. And I was like, don't say that because it's not. I was like, storyline, let me explain it to you. And so,
I hate the F word.
yeah, I hate the F word as well. Like it triggered me when they said it. I went off on them, but I get it. And so they now know how it is. They understand the storyline. They still don't get it. Because like when I took them to Madison Square Garden, like I knew Bianca when they had the triple threat for the women's title, she wasn't gonna win. But none of the kids did. So they were just cheering for her, Bianca, Bianca, Bianca. And then when she lost, they started crying. And I'm just like, see, y'all don't realize that WrestleMania is in 2 weeks. Like she's gonna win in WrestleMania, you know. So it's little things like that still where they're still children. And so they know it's not 100% like a normal, like regular, like NBA or, you know, football where it's like not predetermined, but they still think that it is still like that at times. So, you know, I let them live in it. You know, it took me a while to realize that it was predetermined. So I'm not going to like ruin that for them as well.
Yeah, my son, he was 5. We was at a show and a buddy of mine was getting ready to leave the town. And, you know, he was moving from, we was living in Connecticut at the time, and he was went to the show as, I think it was Northeastern Wrestling. And he was going to lose. And he got beat up at the end. And my son starts crying because he's my friend and he was nice to him. So he's like, he liked Mr. Keith. And I'm like, oh man, like you got to stop crying. And then the other wrestler that he liked and met, he lost and he starts screaming. And I was like, okay, we got to have this conversation way earlier than I thought. And I had to break it down to him like, look, wrestling is predetermined, but do not watch it that way. Just enjoy it as a TV show. I said, cheer for who you want to cheer for, boo who you want to boo. Then look at it later, but don't analyze it, you know.
Right.
But I definitely understand that. But it's cool that, you know, when you get to see that innocence, you know, and they're not worried about booking and all that other stuff. That's what makes it fun.
Yeah.
You know, so but yeah, before we get out of here, anything else you want fans to know?
No, just stay tuned. I want to create more content. I've never considered myself a content creator. I've been told that I'm one. So I gotta keep it up. Yeah. So I gotta keep it up. I want to make the wrestling club the best wrestling club in the world. I want everyone to know about it. The kids love it at my school. And so I want to give them the world when it comes to pro wrestling. Yeah.
Mr. Perry, I definitely appreciate you taking the time out your busy schedule to come on. Make sure y'all follow him. It's right there on your screen. He bringing wrestling to the kids. And like I said, that is the dream. A lot of us who grew up as fans in school, we love wrestling, but never would have dreamed that we would have met our favorite wrestlers. So for him to do this and bring Sasha Banks to his school, to his classroom, and these fans could create memories, nothing short of amazing. Appreciate you coming on.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much. You have a blessed one.
You too.
This show wasn't born.